When you're designing websites, much of what goes on a website is picture content, especially these days whenever people are so into visual content and driven by visual content. Putting photography on the web and photos on the web is a must-have type of thing. Putting pictures on the web is dicey at best, though, because every photo you use bulks up the size of your website. So every picture you put takes a memory footprint, essentially. So formatting the graphics is very important. How do we format graphics for the web? You have to use a graphic editing program. In this case, I'm going to be using Photoshop because it really is the best at formatting pictures for the web and creating small sizes. So what we want to do here, I'm going to show you how to create a typical call to action banner. A really simple, something kind of like up top here, like this is a good example, is a banner section on a website. Most websites have these that have some sort of pictorial or in this case here like this where it tells you to download the app. It's something that drives you deeper into the website, that tries to get you to click on something. These boxes here are good examples, things you can click from the past highlights that drive you deeper into the website, that get you to view more content. Lots of websites have similar stuff up top. So how do you get these things? What to properly size images for the web? What I'm going to do is go into Photoshop here, and I've pulled down a couple of just random stock photo pieces off of Pexels, the stock photo website, to kind of show you how to create graphics for the web. So what I'm going to do, first things first, is I'm going to go File, New, and I'm going to create a new document that's web size. So important thing here, the ratio is more important on this most of the time than the exact pixel size. Most of the time when I'm doing a larger call to action banner, something that spans the whole length of the website, I'll go about 2,000 pixels wide. Now the height ratio is negotiable. It just depends how tall you want this document to be. So it really is a look and feel, something that feels suitable. Does this fit the ratio? What fits the ratio of the photography you're trying to use on this website? So I'm going to go ahead and use something like 500 for the height. Most importantly is 72 resolution. The resolution, the pixels per square inch, need to be at 72. That is always what should be on the web, is 72 resolution, RGB color. Larger than this is going to be too big to put on the web and download too slowly. So hit create, and we've got a banner. Now, if you don't like the ratio, if this is too skinny, I just picked something that kind of mirrored this Jazz at the Gardens. Their ratio may be a little taller. So if you don't like it, you can always go to the crop tool over here, and you can expand the height of this to whatever ratio makes the most sense to you. I'm just going to increase this by like a third. So now I have a document that's maybe a little bit more to my liking. The first thing I'm going to do is go to my layers palette and unlock this background layer, create a new layer out of the bottom using this plus down here, create a new layer, and I'm going to dump this original layer so that I have no background color, because I'm going to composite these photos in here. So now I've got one background layer and a good image size. So what I'm going to do now is go to these other canvases, and I'm going to copy and paste these pictures out of here into my new canvas. So easiest way to do it is just, you can deselect using any one of the marquee tool up top here. I like that for deselecting. You hit Command D or Control D. And then you can do a selection, a large selection. You can either use your selection tool, in this case, rectangular selection. I could grab a whole selection, or I could hit Control A or Command A if you're on Mac. Control C or Command C to copy, Command V or Control V to paste, and that pastes that image inside here. So you can zoom in or out using the zoom tool. I'm going to zoom out, hold down Alt to reverse that zoom tool. First tool in the bin, the move tool, will allow you to position this inside here. So I'm going to do a very simple composite here. I'm going to, this is something that's very typical in a web composite. I'm going to take this first image. I've got this image selected using the move tool up top. Auto select by layer is turned on, and my transform controls are on. Leave those on. This will make things really useful if on your move tool you have these options lit up. Then I can grab this corner and proportionally scale this image down, and I'm just going to make a very simple composite. So I've got this image in there. I'm going to composite in this image. I'm going to copy this and paste it in just so I have something interesting to work with here. And I'm going to size this down as well. Okay, so a very simple composite. Maybe I'll do this one. I would do a very simple mask or something of that nature to make it look more interesting. So let's just go ahead and do that. Over the secondary layer, I'm going to apply a new layer mask to that layer. And I'm going to choose a gradient, a black gradient. In the gradient options up top, I'm going to choose a linear gradient, and I'm going to go with a basic gradient that is black to transparent. And when I roll that black to transparent gradient on top of the mask that I created on this layer, using my gradient tool, it creates a transparency. That's the most easy way you can do one of those progressive fades on a background. So now I've got a really nice background. I could then, if I wanted to, use my text tool, and I could type in some text here, like music festival. Obviously, you'll get a little more creative than me with the naming conventions and with fonts and things of that nature. But just basics on this stuff. I'm going to choose a Helvetica, bold on this. Good word to the wise on this. I would suggest on web fonts, with web fonts, you choose fonts that are big and bold and easy to read. I mean, generally a sans serif font, but that kind of depends on what type of look and feel you're going for. But readability is really what we're concerned with here. Think this even though you may be seeing this large on large on your desktop while you're engineering this, and the font is very legible, zoom out quite a bit while you're creating it and envision how large this would be on a phone screen, because really most people are going to look at things on mobile, or at least usually more than half. So any font work, make it big and bold and legible. That's the way to do it. Make it easy to read. So you would add your text, you'd add your styling to this graphic, and most importantly, saving it. So engineer the thing in Photoshop, but this is the most important bit. When you save it out, what we want to do is go to File, Export, Save for Web Legacy. A lot of people don't know this is in there, and this is an awesome rollout that's in Photoshop. Save for Web Legacy is a specific rollout that lets you save things specifically for the internet. And it has, on the right-hand side here, some really cool stuff. It has only web formats: GIF, JPEG, PNG, WebP, the kinds of formats you would use to save stuff on the web. Now, you're generally going to choose JPEG for the best compression. Any full-color stuff like this will be a JPEG. The quality, this is the important part. Cram this way down. The quality of this can go down really far. I'm actually down to like almost 0% quality on this. What's really neat about this rollout, this allows me to move around. I can grab this and move around and zoom in using these tools down in the bottom left to let me see the actual quality of this. What I can see here, if I zoom in on my font, I've got some quality loss. I've taken this quality down to a 5, which is really low, but look at how small this file size is. This actually tells me how big my file size is. It's only 70 kilobytes. Okay, that's a little bit too low a quality. As I bump this up though, I can see exactly what lossy formatting does. It throws out color. So what I'm going to do is try to strike a balance between the smallest possible file size and the best possible quality on my picture. Looks pretty good here. 253K is pretty small. I would recommend that you keep your graphics under 500 kilobytes whenever humanly possible. Smaller is better. But since this is a main graphic that goes on the top of the page, maybe I'd want a slightly better quality. You can change the sizing down here, all kinds of good stuff. When I save it, I'm going to save it into that same folder, into the IMG subfolder, and I'm going to title it. Name it something descriptive. This is good for search engine optimization. Google reads the titles on your pictures. So I'm going to make it something very descriptive, like this is going to be Music Festival main banner. If it were the name of the music festival, I would name that on there too, so Google could latch onto that a little bit more. But the big thing is just naming it something obvious and descriptive, and I'm going to hit save inside there. Now, that is inside my subfolder. To apply this to my website, I'm going to go into my code. Let me minimize my Photoshop here and pull up my browser so we can launch that in a second. Okay, let me go to my desktop, open up this website. Okay, here is my index. Let me open that up. Okay, so far we've got this, which is, again, pretty much nothing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in this image. So I'm going to go to the body section. This is how you add images. You go img src, image source equals quotation marks. Inside here, we put the file path and then the name of the file. In this case, I've got it in images subfolder. So I'm going to do img / and then the name of the file. So what I can do is look here. img is the folder that I'm looking for. My main index HTML is here. So it's going to be looking, when I do this, img / it's going to be looking for a folder typed img. The / means go down a directory. Then it's going to look for this title. So what I'm going to do is just copy it. Copy exactly the name of the picture that it's looking for. Paste that inside the quotation marks. Save it and refresh. There we go. Now, this is huge. This is gigantic. This is the full size of the picture. It's just slamming the whole photo inside here. What I've got to do is then give this a width and a height. So the best way to do this is by percentages. If I do a 100%, width equals 100%, and save and refresh, watch what happens. Check this out. You can do pixels or percentages for the width, and I could also define height equals quotation marks inside here. But with images, you don't want to do that. With images, you only want to define the width in percentages. Lots of times you'll see out there people defining the widths in pixels and the heights in pixels. That's an old school way of doing it. For responsive web design, we want to do percentages. Why is that? Because this picture will now scale, if I grab the bottom right of the browser down here, and if I can get it, will scale to the size of my browser. Check it out. It's responsive. By adding a percentage to my width value, it now detects the size of the browser, in this case a phone ratio or a desktop ratio, and displays this picture correctly no matter what the size. So that's an important thing to remember when doing web graphics. You're going to create the graphics, you're going to modify them in Photoshop so they load quickly, and you're going to place them using the img src and then define their value in percentages. It's the way to do responsive pictures in web design.